Hi guys. Today I want us to look at some of the questions that you can expect from utility in economics. But the question says, consider the information for the utility measured in utils corresponding to the total number of oranges and guavas consumed. The consumer's total budget is $20 and the price of an orange is $4 and the price of a guava is $2. So you are provided with a utility table. Question 1 says, complete the table, and B says, what is the optimal number of oranges and guavas that the consumer should buy in order to maximize utility? Right. So first thing first, make sure that you have noticed what your budget and identify the budget, the prices of each product provided in the question. Right, and in the table again, you have to know the items that are provided and the ones that are not provided. So this table has oranges on the left side and guavas on the right side. So we are provided with the total utility of oranges. We're not provided with marginal utility, so we are going to find it. And we are also not provided with weighted marginal utility. So MU divided by P, which is actually marginal utility divided by the price, is equals to weighted marginal utility. So this whole thing, we call it weighted marginal utility. We are also provided with the quantity for both oranges as well as guavas. We are provided with total utility for guavas. We are not provided with marginal utility and of guavas as well as the weighted marginal utility for guavas, meaning that we are going to calculate marginal utility for both oranges and guavas. We are also going to calculate weighted marginal utility for both oranges and guavas. Right, so what do we know so far? Total utility we're provided with. So we need a formula for marginal utility. Right, so marginal utility equals to a change, right? Change in total utility divided by a change in quantity. Right, so for those who don't know how to calculate a change actually take a new amount minus the old amount. So if you are talking of change in total quantity for, let's say right, so a change in total utility for quantity 1. So if you are talking of to calculate the change in total utility, so you make 10 minus 0, and 10 will be the change in total utility. And for quantity 2 is 18 minus 10, which means 8 is our change in total utility. So make sure that when you are calculating marginal utility, you consider the change, not just total utility. Many students have made this mistake of just taking total utility and dividing it with what? Quantity. No, that is not right. It's actually the change in total utility divided by the change in quantity. Right, so that's the formula for marginal utility. Right, so for weighted marginal utility, it's already clear. It's just marginal utility, right? Marginal utility divided by P. It's already in the formula there. So it's marginal utility, you divide it with P, which is the price of the product. So for each quantity, then you are going to do that. So let's fill in, or let's complete this side, the side of oranges. So now that we know our formula, marginal utility equals to change in total utility divided by change in quantity, let's calculate our our marginal utility. Right, so for 0, it will be, you can either put 0 or nothing, right? Or you can just put 0, it's up to you. right? Then for 24, right? So 24, it will be, so this, to get this answer, you say 24, right? If you are following the formula, minus 0, right? Divided by, quantity is 1, right? Total utility, the quantity is 1, right? I hope you are with me. So we have 1. So divided by 1 minus 0. As I said before, change, you take the new number or whatever you have at that current minus the previous one. Since we are looking for total utility here, so we are taking the 24 minus the previous one, which was 0. And for change in quantity, it's 1 minus 0 because the previous quantity is 0. So that's why we are taking that. So 24 minus 0 will be 24. And 1 minus 0 is 1. So 24 divided by 1 is 24. Right. That means that our marginal utility at quantity 1 for oranges is 24. Now, let's move on to the marginal utility at quantity 2, right? So, in this, again, you take your current total utility that you have. Remember the formula, change in total utility divided by change in quantity. So, you are taking the current total utility that you have minus the previous one. So, we have 44, right? We have 44 minus 24. Oops. Okay, minus 24 divided by quantity, the current one minus the previous. In this case, our quantity is 2. The previous one was 1. So you say 2 minus 1. So 44 minus 24 is 20. 2 minus 1 is 1. So that means that 20 divided by 1 is 20. So our marginal utility at quantity 2 is 20. Right. And we do the same for the next one. So we take 62 because it's our current one minus 44, right? The previous total utility divided by 3. This is a quantity minus 2, right? Right. So 62 minus 44 equals to 18. 3 minus 2 equals to 1. 18 divided by 1 is 18. Right? So we have 18. Right. Then the last one is 75. No, sorry, not 75, but 78. Right? Minus 62 because that's our previous one. We divide it with, oh my God, 4 minus 3. Right? So we'll have 78 minus 62 equals to 16. 16 divided by 1 equals to 16, right? Then you are done. Right, another trick of calculating marginal utility, when the difference in quantity is 1, you sometimes you don't have to follow the formula. All you can do, once you know that the difference is 1 all along, you just look for the difference in total utility, because whatever difference in total utility you get, if you divide it with 1, it will still be that same number. So if you realize that no, my change in quantity is 1 all along, you don't even have to follow the formula. All you just do is just 24 minus 0 is 24. 44 minus 24 is 20. 62 minus 44 is 18. 78 minus 62 is 16. Then you are done. And that is only when you realize that your difference in quantity is 1. Because 1 minus 0 is just 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. 3 minus 2 is 1. 4 minus 3 is 1. So once you realize that the table that you're provided with, the change in quantity is just one all along, then you don't even have to follow this formula. You do not have to divide. You just look for whatever difference you are getting here, and there should be the answer. Right. So let's look at the next column, which is weighted marginal utility. Of course, we will not have anything at 0, because if you say 0 divided by now the price, it will not make sense. Right? So then we are going to the next one, quantity 1. What is our weighted marginal utility here? Remember, the formula says marginal utility divided by the price. So we are going to take the marginal utility that we calculated for quantity 1, then we divide that with the price of oranges, and the price is 4, right? I hope we are together. So what you are going to make is 24, because that is our what? Our marginal utility. We divide it with 4, because that is our price. 24 divided by 4, then we have 6. This equals to 6. So our weighted marginal utility is 6. Then we move on to the next one. We have 20. So it's 20 divided by 4, right? So it's 20 divided by 4, which is 5. Now you might be wondering, where is the 20 coming from? Go back to the formula. It says marginal utility divided by the price. So the 20, we are taking the marginal utility of at quantity 2. The marginal utility we calculated is 20. So this is 20 we are taking, and we divide with the price. The price of oranges is 4. So then we are getting 5. We move on to the next one. Our marginal utility is 18. So we are taking 18, right? And we divide it with 4. The price of oranges is 4. Right. So 18 divided by 4, we get 4.5. Right. So then we have 4.5. Then we move on to the last one. So our marginal utility here is 16, as we calculated, divided by 4. So 16 divided by 4 is 4, equals to 4. So now we are done with our weighted marginal utility for oranges. We have 6, 5, 4.5, and 4. Right. So assuming that you understood this part, then this whole part will actually be easier, because you are using the same process and procedure. So I'm not going to follow the formula again that we have done here, because I assume that you guys understood from the explanation I've done here. So let's come to Guavas. Marginal utility is nothing, and weighted marginal utility, nothing. So marginal utility for what? For quantity 1 of guavas. Remember I said if your difference is 1, you do not even have to follow this formula. All you do is just look at the difference, and that will be your answer. So 10 minus 0 is 10, and that is your answer for marginal utility, because otherwise we could have divided this with 1, but then it's still the same number. Then for the next one is 18 minus 10. Then you have 8. 25 minus 18, right? 25 minus 18, then you have 7. Then 31 minus 25. 31 minus 25, then you have 6. Then you are done with your marginal utility for guavas. Moving on to weighted marginal utility for guava. Again, it's the same. It says marginal utility divided by the price of guavas. So for the first one, our marginal utility is 10. So if you take 10, you divide it with 2, because that's the price, then you get 5, right? You take 8, you divide it with 2, then you get 4. You take 7, you divide it with 2, then you get 3.5, right? You take a 6, you divide it with 2, then you get 3. Then you are done completing your table. So our B is, not B, but our A is done, right? So this is actually how you complete your table. Now moving on to question B. What is the optimal number of oranges and guavas that the consumer should buy in order to maximize utility? So maximizing utility, we also consider it as equilibrium in utility. So in some cases, some questions, it might say that what is the optimal number of oranges and guavas that the consumer should buy in order to be in equilibrium? It's the same, equilibrium or to maximize utility. Now there are few conditions that determine this part. So the first condition says that, so the two goods, right? The two goods should be affordable. So the consumer should be able to afford guavas and oranges. And that, of course, given the budget. So the two goods should be affordable, right? And the consumer must spend the whole amount of budget without any remaining money, no change, nothing. And of course, it should not exceed what? $20. There's the first condition. The second condition says the weighted marginal utility for the two goods should be the same. So if those two conditions are met, then you can say that the consumer is maximizing his or her utility, or the consumer is in equilibrium. When the weighted marginal, remember I said this is weighted marginal utility. So if you notice that there's a weighted marginal utility that is the same as this side, then you have to consider that. Right, so let's identify the weighted marginal utility that are the same. So we have 5 this side, and you also have 5 this side, right? And we also have 4 somewhere there, right? So let's make this purple. We have 4 here, and we have 4 here. And so far, those are the only same weighted marginal utility that we have identified. So the first condition is met. Now, what is our second condition? It's saying that these two products should be affordable and the consumer must be able to spend the whole amount of money. So how do you identify this? You look at your quantity and you look at where that weighted marginal utility are the same. So you come to quantity 1 because in this line is where 5 is. So this means that 1, right? 1 guava. And you come to 2. 2, we have 5. This means 2, because 5 is on the side of oranges, so it's 2 oranges. So this basically means that this consumer can buy 1 guava, right? 1 guava, which is equal to 1 guava is $2, right? So 1 guava is $2. So because 5 is in this line and 5 is on the side of guava, this means that, and it's in the line of quantity 1, so it's 1 guava and 2 oranges. Then we have 2 oranges, right? 2 oranges. And we say that 2 oranges, 1 is actually 4. That means that if there are 2, it will be 4 times 2, which will be 8. So that means it is 8. Now, if a consumer take this combination of 1 guava and 2 oranges, that means that it's just 2 plus 10, which is $10, right? Right, this is affordable, but the problem is that the condition said you need to spend the whole money as budgeted. So $10 is still less. You still have a $10 left. So let's move on to the next one, right? So this one is out, completely out. Oops. So right, so the first option is out. So now we are going to move on to the next one. So the next one is 4, right? 4 and 4 here. It's 4, 4. So you just with your 4, you look at how many quantities are there. So quantity is 2, and we are on the side of guavas. That means that 2 guavas, right? So we have 2 guavas. Let me just write G, and know that one guava is $2. Now, if there are 2, then it will be 2 times 2, which is actually 4, right? Which is 4, right? Then we look at another 4. This 4 says it's at quantity 4, right? For this one is at quantity 4. This means that it's 4 what? Oranges, right? So then we have 4 oranges. Oops. Okay, let me just write O, which equals to, because one orange is $4, and you're talking of quantity of 4, meaning that 4 oranges. So this will be 4 times 4. So 4 times 4 is 16, right? 16. And the last part is just for you to add up these 2, which is 16 plus 4. Then you have 20. And there you go. Now you know that you are in equilibrium because the weighted marginal utility are the same and you are spending the full budget. No change, and the products are affordable, right? So this is actually how you determine. So now your last statement will be, make sure that you show your calculation though. So the last statement will be, the consumer should buy, because you are asked, right, how many number of guavas and oranges should the consumer buy. So you are going to say the consumer should buy 2 guavas and 4 oranges in order to maximize his or her utility. And you are done like that. So this is how actually you complete a utility table and also identify the equilibrium or the point of maximizing utility. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the video, and if you have any question, you can always just comment in the comments, right? I'll see you in our next video.